Pressure Media.
Hey, it's Monday, here we go. It's the Call Me Tony Show.
Hey guys, today is Monday, June 15th, 2026. My name is Tony. This is my podcast and welcome to it. Now, before we get started today, I want to be completely clear about where I'm coming from. I'm not sitting behind this microphone as an expert. I'm not an authority or someone who's got it all figured out. I don't have my shit together, not by a long shot. I'm right here with a lot of you going through the exact same heavy and confusing spirals we're about to look at. And I know firsthand what it feels like when life gets too heavy. And I know these lines because I repeat them to myself in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, feeling completely trapped in my own thoughts. I think, um, I think the real danger when we're overwhelmed isn't the pain itself. It's that we treat that loud and critical voice in our head like a judge delivering a final verdict instead of just our human brain trying to survive a rough patch. So let's look at these thoughts from the inside, not with clinical detachment, but like actual human people who know exactly what it's like to live with them. Sometimes when life hits a wall, our brain stops thinking in complex themes and starts looping hard. If you've ever been stuck in a dark place, you probably know most of these lines by heart. You've lived them. You've repeated them in the middle of the night, and maybe you're sitting with them right now. Like I said, the real danger isn't the pain itself. The danger is the unchallenged claims these thoughts make about our reality. When we're overwhelmed, we treat the voice in our head like it knows everything about where we're at and that it has the final say. Listen to the sequence and, more importantly, look at the beliefs hidden directly behind them. The the spiral usually starts with a jolt. You look at your circumstances, the weight of what's landed on your shoulders, and the first question that flashes in your mind is, why is this happening to me? It feels personal, like your higher power or the universe stopped whatever it was doing just to single you out and fuck up your life. But why assume that it's about you at all? Sometimes situations happen because of choices you made. Sometimes they happen because of choices someone else made, completely independent of you. And sometimes it's just a random, unwanted product of a complicated world. So if it's not actually directed at you, then does the question actually have any value? The moment we insist on finding a reason, the mind naturally tries to balance an imaginary scale, leading straight to the second thought, which is, what did I do to deserve this? And this is the deep instinct to find a past mistake, a flaw, or an old regret to justify our current misery. But why do we automatically assume that our suffering is earned? Why do we treat a bad season, a broken relationship, or a traumatic environment as if it's a cosmic punishment or some sort of report card on our behavior? Experiencing pain doesn't mean that you're paying an expensive bill just for being who you are. When we realize that we didn't do anything to earn the pain, the mind goes straight to resentment. That's not fair. It feels super duper true in the moment. It's an honest cry against the seemingly lopsided nature of life. But look at the standard we're holding reality to when we say this. Who promised fairness? The moment you look at how luck and tragedy and health and peace are spread across the planet, it becomes painfully obvious that reality doesn't really care about moral balance. So, if fairness isn't the baseline rule of human existence, then what are we actually doing when we demand it? Are we fighting our circumstances, or are we just pissed off that the world isn't following our imaginary rule book? When that external anger runs out of steam and nothing in your reality changes, the frustration turns right back inside. You stop blaming the outside world and start questioning your own basic ability to function. What is wrong with me? This is the point where we stop looking at a difficult environment and start looking at ourselves as being somehow defective. You start treating the presence of struggle as evidence of personal failure. But why is struggle evidence of a personal defect? What if your confusion, your panic, or your exhaustion aren't proof that your mechanics are broken? What if it's just the completely normal logical reaction of a human nervous system trying to survive an uncomfortable amount of pressure? Once we decide that we are the broken variable, we hide from the world and build a wall. Nobody understands. It's a thought that creates immediate isolation. It convinces you that your pain is too messy, too specific, or too embarrassing to ever be explained to someone else. But how would you know? How many people have you actually tested that on? And more importantly, how many people would actually need to understand your exact situation before that statement became false? One person? Two? If the requirement for connection is that someone must have lived your exact identical life, then everyone is permanently isolated. On the other hand, if the requirement is just that they understand what it's like to hurt, is it really true that you're completely alone? From that isolated corner, the inner critic hits you with the heaviest and darkest claim in its arsenal. They are better off without me. When you're completely disconnected, your brain distorts your value. It convinces you that your existence is nothing but a drain on everyone who cares about you. But I wonder, like who told you your value is based on what you currently bring to the table? Who convinced you that your worth is tied only to what you can produce, fix, or provide for people, or that the moment you're struggling, you become worthless? Are you actually listening to the people who love you, or are you just projecting your own self loathing onto them? To justify that belief, the mind claims responsibility for everything. It's all my fault. You look at things you had no control over, things that were handed down to you or inflicted on you by others, and you take total ownership of the mess. Are you taking responsibility though? Or are you just claiming unlimited power over things you never actually controlled? If you take the blame for other people's stuff or for random chance, then I think you're playing God over things that you could never touch. And isn't it possible that taking the blame is just a desperate way for the brain to avoid admitting that it was completely powerless? When you take the blame for everything, time flattens out. You lose your perspective and you tell yourself, nothing is ever going to change. The pain stops feeling like a passing storm and starts feeling like a permanently black sky. But how could you possibly know the future, though? How many times in your life have you been absolutely certain of an outcome, completely convinced of how a situation was going to play out, only to be proven completely wrong by the outcome? If your brain has a track record of making bad predictions about the future based on how you felt in a single moment, then why should we trust its forecast right now? Once you believe that the future is set in stone, your system shuts down to protect itself. I'm done trying. It feels like a final collapse, a quiet surrender. But done trying what exactly? Are you done trying to survive, or are you just done trying to force an outcome you don't control? Are you done trying to live, or are you just done trying to meet an impossible expectation that you were never meant to carry in the first place? If dropping your hands means you stop fighting a war you can't win, then could being done actually uh, be the first step toward walking away from the wrong battle entirely? Because you feel like you've collapsed inside, the armor goes on. I can't let anyone see this. So you paste on the smile. You play act the appearance of a healthy person, meanwhile building a massive wall to hide behind. What are you protecting and from who? If you're hiding the struggle out of fear of being judged or rejected, then ask yourself, is the armor actually keeping you safe, or is it just keeping you starved for the exact connection that might lighten your load? What is it actually costing you to keep the mask on while you suffer? And while you're maintaining that exhausting performance, the internal clock starts ticking. I should be over this by now. You create an arbitrary deadline for your own healing and then beat the shit out of yourself when your emotions don't follow the schedule. According to whose timeline, though? Who decided on the expiration date for your grief, your trauma, and your exhaustion? If healing is naturally messy, repetitive, and completely disorganized, then why are we treating a hard day like a personal failure instead of just a normal part of the process? And finally, exhausted from the hiding and the timelines, the mind makes its final cry. I just want things to go back to normal. We look back at the past with intense nostalgia, wishing we could reverse the clock because right now feels too heavy to hold. But was normal actually as good as you remember it? Or does it just look safe now because it was familiar and the present reality feels unscripted? Trying to force your current self back into an old version of your life is not possible. If you can't go back, then the question isn't how to recover what's gone, but instead, what are you going to build with the reality that you're standing in right now? If you're cycling through these 12 thoughts today, stop arguing with the feelings. Acknowledge them. They are real and they are heavy. Do yourself a solid and stop treating the questions in your head as though they're final verdicts. trust the pause and let the questions do their work.